The interview was meant to be simple, just another round of promotion for the final season of Outlander. The lights were warm, the crew hushed, and Sam Heughan sat comfortably in his chair, his trademark smile lighting up the room. But then he leaned back, paused, and said softly, "There's a real difference between real love and real love." That one sentence changed everything. For years, fans have blurred the line between Sam and his on-screen alter ego, Jamie Fraser, the fearless Highland warrior, whose love for Claire Fraser has become one of television's most legendary romances. But behind the timeless story and the sweeping passion, there is Sam, a man who has spent years wrestling with what it means to love authentically while living in a world built on illusion. When asked whether he ever got tired of people confusing him with his character, Sam chuckled gently. "It's funny," he said. "People fall in love with Jamie and they think they know me through him. But love on screen, it's written, rehearsed, directed, shaped until it looks perfect. Real love doesn't give you a script." The room went silent. The air felt heavy with something real, not the kind of romance you find in a script, but the kind you survive. Sam spoke about how acting had taught him intimacy, empathy, and vulnerability, but also about the danger of forgetting that those emotions belong to the story, not to real life. "Jamie and Claire were written to be eternal," he said quietly, "but actors aren't eternal. We're messy, imperfect human." He paused, searching for words. "There are days when you wish life could imitate art, but real love, it's not about grand gestures or destiny. It's about showing up even when the cameras aren't rolling." For a moment, it didn't feel like an interview anymore. It felt like a confession. Sam had carried the weight of public fascination for years. Every look shared with Catriona Balfe, analyzed, every laugh turned into a headline. "I adore Catriona," he admitted warmly. "She's one of the most important people in my life. But what we have is built on trust, not fantasy." That honesty silenced the room. He went on, his tone turning thoughtful. "You spend years pretending to love someone on camera, and at some point your heart forgets where the acting ends. You start to wonder, am I feeling this because it's real, or because I've lived it so many times it feels real?" The interviewer didn't interrupt. Sam's words carried the weight of years of blurred lines between the man and the myth. "Real love," he continued, "is beautiful because it's safe. You know the ending. You know when the heartbreak comes, when the reunion happens. But real love asks you to risk everything without knowing how it ends. It can break you, but it can also make you feel alive in a way no performance ever could." There was a quiet ache in his voice. For the first time, Sam wasn't speaking as Jamie Fraser, the heroic lover, but as a man who had lived too long under the illusion of perfection. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I've had people tell me they envied Jamie's love story," he said with a faint smile. "But Jamie doesn't have to deal with the noise, the headlines, the expectations, the constant guessing of what love should look like." He sighed. "When your life is public, love becomes fragile. You want to protect it, hide it, because once the world sees it, it stops being yours." Still, there was no bitterness, only understanding. "Real love," he said, "is quieter. It's not about proving something to the world. It's about the small, unseen moments. Maybe that's why it's harder to find, but also why it matters more." When asked what he hoped people would take from his story, Sam smiled softly. That love doesn't have to look perfect. It just needs to be honest. When the cameras finally stopped and the lights dimmed, Sam sat quietly, lost in thought. "Real love doesn't give you a script," he murmured to himself. It was a truth that had taken him years and a few heartbreaks to understand. Being loved for a character rather than for himself had always been bittersweet. "People fall in love with Jamie," he once told a friend, "but I'm not Jamie. I'm just the man who plays him." That difference followed him everywhere. Fans expected romance, chivalry, perfection, the fantasy Highlander come to life. But Sam knew the truth. "Jamie always knows the right words," he said. "Real men, we stumble through them, hoping not to break what we care about." He admitted that fame had changed how he saw relationships. The travel, the scrutiny, the endless comparisons to Catriona, all of it blurred the line between what was genuine and what was imagined. "I've cared deeply for people," he said, "but when every gesture becomes a headline, it's hard to know if what's real can survive." He spoke of the loneliness that sometimes came with fame, how private moments turned into public property. "When the world watches you fall in love, it stops feeling like yours," he said quietly. "You start guarding your heart so tightly that you forget how to open it again." Still, there was no resentment in his tone, only growth. "For a long time I confused passion with permanence," he confessed. "Real love burns bright because it's written that way. Real love, it's about endurance." He smiled wistfully. "I used to think love found you. Now I think it's something you choose every day with patience, forgiveness, and courage." When the interviewer asked whether he had ever experienced real love, Sam didn't hesitate. "Yes," he said softly, "more than once. Sometimes it doesn't last forever, but that doesn't mean it wasn't real. The truth of love is in how it changes you, not how long it stays. He looked down for a moment, thoughtful. Acting teaches you about connection. You spend months pretending to love someone, and in that space, you touch something real: trust, tenderness, understanding. But when the director says, "Cut," you're reminded it isn't yours to keep. He smiled faintly. Still, it teaches you what you want from the real thing. When asked what the real thing looked like for him now, Sam didn't hesitate. "Peace," he said simply. "Someone who doesn't see the actor or the headlines, just me. Someone who doesn't need me to be anyone else." He paused, his voice warm and steady. "Maybe that's why I take my time. I don't want a love that feels like a movie anymore. I want one that feels like home." Fans who later watched the interview online were deeply moved. Many called it the most genuine they had ever seen him. No soundbites, no polished lines, just honesty. One fan wrote, "Sam isn't Jamie. He's the man who understands love because he's had to search for it in a world that only wants the fantasy." Clips of the interview spread across social media. Some said his honesty made them rethink their own relationships. Others felt a quiet sadness for the man behind the legend, but Sam himself seemed at peace. A few days later, he posted a black and white photo of a misty Scottish hillside with a simple caption, "Sometimes real love is just learning to stay gentle in a hard world." No one knew who he was talking about, Caitriona, someone new, or perhaps himself, but it didn't matter. Because for the first time, Sam Heughan no longer needed real love to define him. He had finally made peace with the real kind, imperfect, unguarded, and true. And for those who had followed his journey from the start, that was the most beautiful ending of all.